Hello, my name is Ziggy Stardust, and these are the spiders from Mars. And my name is Paul Stanley of Kiss. Now you wanted the best, you got the best! The hottest live stream podcast by Michael Lyons. That's you. Yeah, I know. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michael Lyons. Take it away, Michael Lyons. Indeed. Take it away. Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Lyons, and I am known as the Rockstar Cartoonist. Welcome to my live stream podcast about rock stars and cartoonists. Today's podcast is entitled, So You Want to Be a Rockstar Cartoonist? And so today I'm going to talk about, this is geared towards anybody, but especially I'm sort of picturing a 14-year-old kid who loves to draw or is really into rock and roll music and dreams of being a rock star. Coming up in this show, not today, but maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after, I'll be interviewing some real-life rock stars. I'll have Eric Reed, who's a rock star and also my favorite cousin, will be a guest on the show. Next week, we'll also have Mike Ohl, who is a retired rock star, bass player, and old world. He's been in the music scene forever. And also an excellent artist, Mike Ohl. And I'll be talking a little bit about my own art, my music, and stuff like that. So to get the show started, let's start with a intro song. And maybe turn on this. Add some lights. And welcome back to the show. You can support Rockstar Cartoonist at PayPal, Patreon, and GoFundMe. And you can order books by me on Amazon.com. Links are in the description. So, when I was growing up, all of my heroes, except maybe Sylvester Stallone, otherwise, all my heroes were rock stars. And my first real hero in life when I was a little guy was Elvis Presley. And I think of Elvis Presley as being the first rock star. I don't have an Elvis doll. And I always thought, I didn't understand, like, if you could be a rock star, why wouldn't you be a rock star? I thought everybody must secretly want to be a rock star because it would be the greatest job, life in the world. But it wasn't. I knew it was a long shot to become a rock star. So I also, my other love in life, my dream in life was to become a cartoonist. And back in the 70s and 80s, the most popular cartoonists, the most successful cartoonists were comic strip cartoonists. Back here I have some old comic strips of mine. When I was in college, I started a comic strip called Coffee House 5. And but years before, I think the first time when I was probably 14 years old. So for any 14-year-olds out there, I was watching the Mr. Rogers Show, which I think is a little weird because when I grew up, I eventually created my own kind of Mr. Rogers Show with the Buju Nana Buju podcast. But I was watching Mr. Rogers, and I'm a 14-year-old teenager, and he had a guest who was a cartoonist, and he was the comic strip artist for the comic strip High and Lois, or the Family Circle or something. I don't remember the guy's name. It was the first time where I went, oh, hey, that's a job, isn't it? All you have to do is draw 3 panels or 4 panels, black and white, easy drawings, make a little joke, and you can become rich and famous and be a guest on the Mr. Rogers Show. And so from that moment on, I had a secret, and it was secret because I didn't get any support from my family. I always, it was like a dream of mine to grow up and be a cartoonist. So eventually, when I grew up, I became a rock star and a cartoonist. And I wrote a comic book called Rockstar Cartoonist, a comic book autobiography by Michael Lyons. And this comic, every page is 1 year in my life. It starts from the year I was born in 1967. And with each passing year, I cover girls I liked, musical influences like from Elvis to Kiss to Bowie or whatever. What else? There's 3 themes. Oh, and comic books and stuff like that. Influences I had at the time, and how my drawing career progressed. As a little guy, you start out drawing. Well, for me, I started out drawing aliens because they were really easy. Aliens and monsters. My first book I ever owned was Hey Gwen, how you doing? My first book I ever owned was Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak when I was a kindergartner. And my kindergarten teacher to this day will remind me, she goes, yeah, I remember when you would, anytime you turn in a paper, you would always draw me little cartoons, but all the cartoons had like horns and fangs, and they were always like monsters because my first influence as an artist was Maurice Sendak. As I grew older, I got into Charlie Brown and comic strips like that. Then I sort of graduated to Spider-Man and superhero comics, and so I started drawing a lot of superhero comics and stuff. But everything really exploded for me when I was about 12, and I discovered Kiss. That's right, the hottest band in the land. Oh, whoa, 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 woo! Thank you, Paul. When I discovered Kiss, I started drawing Kiss cartoons all the time. My sketchbooks and stuff are just filled with drawings of Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons and all this stuff. And at the same time, I started listening to Kiss music constantly. And so as a teenager, most of my artistic, creative time was spent drawing pictures of Kiss, listening to Kiss music, and then also listening to David Bowie music. Ground control to Major Tom. There's a starman waiting in the sky. Hey, this is interesting. What's that, Michael? This is kind of Ziggy Stardust as a cat, right? This is my cat Bagheera's cat toy. But when Peter Criss quit, he was fired. Yeah, okay. when Peter Criss was fired, you could have replaced him not with Eric Carr, but instead with David Bowie, because that year in 1979 or whatever, Bowie was still wearing makeup and stuff. If Bowie had joined Kiss, but he doesn't play drums. Yeah, I know, but he could like sing and stuff. It would have looked something like this. It would have been, Bowie could have been in Kiss wearing all black with a yellow and then a space ears, and he could still be the cat, but he'd be Ziggy Cat. That's an awesome idea. Yeah, huh? So anyway, so Kiss, and also the thing, a lot of times people ask me, why do you love Kiss so much? And to those people I say, you just don't get it. You know, Kiss fans, we all get that question. Why do you like Kiss? But also as an artist and as a kid, without much, without, my heroes in life, there wasn't anyone in my immediate life who was like being a role model to me. So I had to look towards Paul Stanley. And Paul Stanley, for everything else that he did for music and his career and stuff like that, in every interview and in lots of his songs, he would always kind of say something like, I remember what I said. I would always say, if you believe in yourself and you're willing to work hard, you can do anything. The whole theme of Paul Stanley's life and Kiss was about, having a dream and achieving it. Kiss and Rocky are a lot. The themes are really similar. Like the mythology behind starting from nothing and wanting to take a shot at being the best, and then, whether or not you make it, the heroic journey, and all that. Then left home, went to college, started my comic strip, Coffee House 5, did some comic strips there, and some comic books, and eventually went on. I've illustrated some newspapers, stories. I got greasy gray hair, and what else? In the year, what year was it? 97, 98. I started a comic strip called Prairie Rose, which was my first Native American sort of comic strip. Ran in the Grand Forks Herald. And it was the year that the Grand Forks Herald, the Grand Forks got devastated by a flood and a fire. And so my first strip was Prairie, and she was a young Native American girl. Getting rained on, and then the panel gets flooded, and then it gets burned, and then there's a hellscape of smoke and stuff. And she gets her newspaper and she reads, oh, it's the Grand Forks Herald. And that ran for a couple of years. I moved to Duluth. I drew some comic books there. And let's see what else. Oh, but my big break came finally in probably 2002. I did my first children's book called Dog and Maingan. On this camera, you might be able to see it on the wall. Right? Right over Emily's head there is Dog and Maingan. And Dog and Maingan was a children's book that taught people how to count to 10 in Ojibwe, and also how to identify 10 different animal names, like bear and squirrel and crow and butterfly and whatever. And eventually that led me to doing more Ojibwe children's books. I did some coloring books would teach, a word or a phrase and that kind of stuff. I became the Indian education director of Walker School in 15 years ago or something. And that was really a great opportunity because I could share a lot of my books with the elementary kids. And then I was also in charge of a summer program in Onigum. Yes, it's pronounced Onigum, everybody in Onigum. Onigum is a small native village, kind of it's south of Walker on the Leech Lake Reservation. And for 2 summers, I worked down there doing a summer program where I would give art. We do drawing and kickball. And then I also directed a play that I wrote called Little Cutie, A Teddy Bear's Vision Quest. And that eventually became a children's book of its own, a chapter book that illustrated. You would think I would have some samples of my books around here. But Little Cutie is don't have it here, a story of a teddy bear. And it's a true story. It's a teddy bear that I used to have when my first teddy bear was a red and white teddy bear called Little Cutie. And in the story, Little Cutie overhears the adults saying, "Isn't Aubrey getting a little old for stuffed animals?" And my middle name is Aubrey, but in the book, it's a little girl. Man, I wish I had grabbed that. I know. I'll tell you about Little Cutie when I get back. Here's a song that we recorded. So I did some children's books, and then to promote my Ojibwe language children's books, I started a Ojibwe language word of the day on Facebook called Buju Nana Buju, a video. Well, no, I started sharing comic strips that would teach an Ojibwe word of the day on Facebook called Ojiberish. And I posted a new cartoon every day and did that for a number of months. And it got really popular. People really liked it. But people kept on writing in, how do you pronounce these words? It's a funny cartoon teaching us how to say blueberry pie. But how do you pronounce Mina Bashki Mina Sagani Batusi Jagani Bakwe Jigan? So I put together a couple of puppets, Nana Buju and Natasha, and started teaching Ojibwe phrases and words. And then I also wrote songs to teach the language with these puppets. And at first it was just kind of a way to advertise the books, to get people to click the link to Amazon and order the books. But then eventually it became its own show and its own live stream. And for about 4 years, we did a regular, pre-taped, but a lot of live streams, almost daily live streams for about a year or two, with Nana Buju and Natasha, talking about Ojibwe language, Ojibwe culture, history, personal stories, prayers. It was really great. And you can still, it's all on this channel. I have, I don't know how many thousand episodes of Buju Nana Buju. Coming up in this show, Nana Buju and Natasha will make appearances. In fact, here's a song called Fly By Night, which is a song by Rush that we recorded, and it's from the Buju Nana Buju podcast. Miigwech Bizendawieg. Thank you for listening. All right, and we're off. Buju, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Buju Nana Buju. Oh, wow. We're really up here now. Why try? Oh no, why? This feeling inside me says it's time I was gone. Clear head, new life ahead. It's time I was king and not just one more pawn. Fly by night away from here. Change my life again. Fly by night, goodbye my dear. My ship isn't coming and I just can't pretend. Moonrise, thoughtful eyes, staring back at me from the window beside. No fright or hindsight, leaving behind that empty feeling inside. Fly by night away from here. Change my life again. Fly by night, goodbye my dear. My ship isn't coming and I just can't pretend. Start a new chapter, I'll find what I'm after. It's changing every day. Change of the seasons, enough of a reason to want to get away. Quiet and pensive, my thoughts apprehensive, the hours drift away. Leaving my homeland, playing a lone hand, my life begins today. Fly by night away from here. Change my life again. Fly by night, goodbye my dear. My ship isn't coming and I just can't pretend. My ship isn't coming and I just can't pretend. My ship isn't coming and I just can't pretend. Oh, what? Ladies and gentlemen, on the guitar, Michael Lyons. Thanks. All right. Let's see then. How do we get back home? I'm sorry. Was that totally not... I feel like I forgot to click the output on that song, so I apologize if you had to sit through that song being utterly quiet. And thanks for hanging in there if what happened is what I thought happened. So, I couldn't find a cup. Here's a cup. Here's Little Cutie, I guess. This is actually the original... I'm not sure what you call it. There's a full color big version that you get that I can't show you because I nailed it to the wall as a piece of art. But Little Cutie is the story of a red and white teddy bear who thinks that his human has outgrown him. And he goes on a wild adventure looking for... When he leaves, he runs into all these woodland animals like a jitamu, the squirrel, wagosh, the fox, jagog, the skunk. All these, and they're friends of his, the actual animals. But they all tell him that he needs to go on a vision quest. He needs to go... He finally realizes that a vision quest is a conversation with Gitchi Manadu, the Great Spirit. Eventually he meets the Great Spirit, who looks a little familiar to me, who's a dude playing guitar out in the woods, and he asks him about his name and about what, he doesn't know where he belongs and who he is. Gitchi Manadu goes, do you remember how you got that name, Little Cutie? Little Cutie's all, I guess I don't remember, I've had it my whole life. And he goes, I gave you that name because that's how I saw you, little and cute. But don't mistake what you think is your weakness for what is your great power. And he goes on to tell him how he's the most wise and courageous of all the animals because he's not afraid of anybody and no one's afraid of him. And then he doesn't have to worry about Aubrey outgrowing him. And this is available on Amazon. This book was very controversial. Do not buy this book. Onyx Blood is a story of a girl who was half vampire and half elf. She's a mixed blood. In Ojibwe, we call her Wisakode Winini. Here's a cute picture of her. Onyx. This is Onyx. This is her sister, Lilith. Lilith is a full-blooded vampire. She comes from a mixed family. Her dad's a vampire, and her mom is an elf. And the thing is, they send her to a boarding school to learn how to become a proper vampire. This whole book is an allegory for the Native American boarding school era. And it's definitely a kid's book. I tried my best, and I think it's really good. But people misunderstood it because it's funny and it's sweet and it's cartoony. And the story it's about people ask, oh, what's the audience level? And it's like, well, a 14-year-old kid's gonna love this. People are into vampires and elves and imagination, and kids who know what it's like to not fit in. But I also did a play version of this with those same Onigum kids. I got some backlash from the community because I made Santa Claus the villain. In this world, the kids, elves have to go to vampire boarding school, kind of like Native Americans had to go to English boarding schools. And when they escape, Santa Claus is the one who rounds them up. And if they're really bad, they get sent to the North Pole to have to work as a slave to Santa Claus. Eventually, Onyx is saved by her older sister, Lilith. When just as Santa Claus is about to, in fact, he does grab Onyx and he's going to take her away to the North Pole. Lilith swoops in and transforms back into vampire from bat, bites him on the neck, and turns Santa Claus into a vampire. And he goes, I could bite him on the neck and turn him into one of us, Lilith replied. He would become immortal. From behind them, Santa slowly rose to his feet. Lilith and Onyx spun around to see his eyes fade to white and fade to yellow, I should say. And pointed fangs dropped from behind his mustache. Worked for me, the jolly fat man declared, transforming into a chubby red bat, laughed, ho, 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 ah, 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 and flew out and off into the night. Well, one day I was leaving school, and a parent came up to me, and he goes, hey, Steven. And I looked at him, I'm like, that's not my name. Because whatever your name is, Mr. Lyons. Steven is a character in this book, an alien who's disguised himself as a mummy. No, a half alien. Okay, I'll tell you about Steven. Steven, hello. My name is... No, how's it go? All right. I'll just have an English accent this time. Hello. My name is Stephen. Stephen A. Leon. And yes, I am an alien, if that's what you want to call me. No, I am not from another planet. That's ridiculous. There's no such thing as outer space and other planets. We live on a stationary, flat plane with a dome over our heads. But I am what people call a gray alien. But you can call me Stephen. Stephen A. Leon. Well, Stephen in the book has to disguise himself as a mummy, and he becomes friends with Onyx and whatever. Oh, but this parent was really angry at me. He says, what gives you the right to have my little girl read this? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm her teacher. I guess I got a right. I don't know. I guess none. I'm sorry. I was pretty freaked out, actually. I didn't want to have to fight somebody's dad. And certainly not over a book. But some people also took exception. They thought it was overly violent because, where's that scene? Here we go. There's a scene where the evil head mistress of the boarding school comes in and she threatens to step on this little boy's head because he had just run away and Santa Claus brought him back and throws him on the ground. And she, you know, when we did the play, I had a little girl doing that. It's another little girl's but so I learned a valuable lesson about I guess I didn't learn anything. Sorry. But so that was that. Illustrated some. Oh, here's a little cutie coloring book. You can read the little cutie story and I forgot I did that. Color in the illustrations from the story. Otherwise, this book has a lot of Ojibwe words and phrases. Here's a lovely cartoon of me and all my friends. I'm playing guitar, talking, but I have nothing to say. I remember kids would, I had this coloring book and I gave out this comic book to a lot of kids over the years. And sometimes in our, when we'd color together and stuff, the kids would write in really funny stuff. But a lot of them would be like, I love you, Sarah, or I love you, Joni, or whatever. And that would be the kid's name, and I had never said that to them. But they wanted to color something, me telling them I loved them. But I did love them. I just didn't dare tell them that because, you know, I'm not really their uncles. But, so, what now? 33:39. And it was just as loud. Oh, good. Glad. Oh, I'm glad you liked it, Gwen. Let's see. What else should we talk about? Did I have... maybe... I'm going to see if I can find... I used to have a video of a lot of my comic strips. So, in the future, if you... Here we go. Okay, here's some of my comics, or this is from my sketchbook, I think. Okay. Got a lot of mileage out of that. Here's a cartoon of me drawing. I like to draw myself. Putting on my coat in the woods. Walking through the deep snow. That's my depression touching my face. That's me going crazy. I'm feeling alone. I don't know why exactly. Why I like to draw myself. There's me smiling, but then who else would I draw? What are you looking at, punk? Big ego. Me crouching down like somebody. Like Spidey. Spider-Man. The only thing I've drawn nearly as much as Paul Stanley is Spider-Man. I loved Spider-Man growing up so much, and I still do. I always return to myself. I always return to drawing myself. It was me, it's a drawing of an old girlfriend. It's me in the corner. It's me in the spotlight. That's me thinking deeply. Is that vain? I might have misspelled the word vain. I'm not sure. It's me looking in the mirror. All-seeing eye. The other eye. Here's me getting ready to dance. Well, I guess this is it. About to jump in. Let's dance. Under the moonlight, the series special thanks to Clint Carlson, the other guitarist, and my hilarious friend. Clint Carlson was the other guitar player on that, the music for that. A lot of the music, the instrumental stuff you've heard on Buju Nana Buju and the intro song, are original compositions or songs or whatever, instrumentals, by me and an old friend of mine called Clint Carlson. And Clint and I met in Duluth, Minnesota, when we both worked at St. Scholastica. And started to jam, and we started a band called Sweet Days. And we were a coffee house band and played probably 50% original music and 50% cover songs. He was, we were both really good. I don't mind admitting it now, but it was surprisingly, when Clint and I started playing together, it was at the same time when the Dave Matthews bands, I guess they had been big for a couple of years by then. But from our first songs and our first gig, we were comparable to Dave Matthews and that other dude. But just to the greatest, acoustic music at the time, we were easily comparable to, if not surpassed that. And we wrote some great music. We recorded an album with a girl called Shannon Heckman. Shauna Heckman. Sorry, Shauna. I forget your name. And we recorded an album called Snowy Starry Sunday. It's a full album of original songs. Shauna is an amazing singer and songwriter. Or lyricist or whatever. Clint and I would lay down just some amazing... in fact, I'll share one of the songs that we had done. Clint and I would lay down the rhythm and the lead stuff, and then Shauna would just kind of jump on and add the vocals. And so we all wrote the songs equally in a way. I was the rhythm player, Clint was the lead player, and so let me see if I can find one of those songs from... We didn't really have a name for this band. We just recorded an album. And I made a video with... Emily got the vocals. I think this is it. Has Shauna's vocals, and then Natasha I added Natasha singing harmonies. But this is a song that I forgot what it's called.
Just begun. Oh,
oh,
oh, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So I went for a walk and I sat in the park and I thought I gathered my thoughts, and then from a distance I saw standing there and I just froze up. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What do you do at a time like this? What do you say at a time like this? Where do you go at a time like this? What do you do? What do you do at a time like this? What do you say at a time like this? Where do you go at a time like this? What do you do? So I decided to be bold, and I walked towards you. By the moment I encountered you within 5 feet, my mind was so damn confused. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And in the end, I did that cowardly thing and I turned my back on you. I just walked away and went back home and sat there all alone. Oh, 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 yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh, oh, yeah. Oh,
So that was from the album Snowy Starry Sunday. Clint Carlson, Shauna Heckman, and Michael Lyons. All right, so we've been on live for 44 minutes and 12 seconds. Oh, so this is the actual point of the show today, and the direction this show is going to be taking. I was hoping my stupid cousin would show up today, Eric Reed, the Rockstar, because I wanted to interview him and ask him questions that a kid who's interested in becoming a rock star, or I say cartoonist, but any kind of artist, really. So this is my advice to if I could go back in time and go back to 1980 or something and give advice to myself, how to become a rockstar cartoonist. So you want to be a rockstar cartoonist. First of all, ask yourself, what kind of rock star, and what do you mean by being a rock star? What is it that you want to do? People will scoff at you and think that, oh yeah, he thinks he's so cool, want to be a rock star. Why don't you get on America's Got Talent? Do you want to be a rock star because you want to be famous and rich and get lots of girls that would otherwise be out of your league? Or is there something about rock stars, the rock star lifestyle? My cousin Eric embodies. I mean, he's like a electric guitar virtuoso, and he's also a singer, and an aspiring singer. No, but he's also one of these guys. You know, he wears he rides a Harley. He's got tattoos. He lives his life like a music video, leather jacket. He's very cool. He's very charismatic. And every chapter in his life has been chaotic and beautiful and like, all the good and bad of the rock star lifestyle, from many relationships with women, many broken hearts, a trail of tears. Yesterday he was talking about how he goes, man, if there's one thing I'm good at, it is rebuilding myself from nothing but dirt in my hands and hate in my mouth. But, so ask yourself, what is it exactly? For me, and I think for a lot of us artist types, rock stars are about freedom of expression. When, I grew up in a very, I don't even want to say conservative because it's not like it was a very moral town, but very square town, small town, northern Minnesota. When I was a kindergartner, all the kids except me had flat top army buzz cuts. I think the Vietnam War had just started or was just ending or something when I was in kindergarten. And I showed up with a Beatles haircut. Hair down below my ear and to my shoulder. And all the kids asked me, are you a boy or a girl? And I'd say, well, I'm a boy. Obviously. There was no question because transgender children isn't a thing. I just got my channel taken down. But I related to rock stars, and maybe you do too. Being able to be who you are, express yourself the way you want. Rock stars get to, and also musically, rock and roll and singing and playing the guitar, it is so cool looking and fun looking. It is as fun as it looks. Being in a band, I used to fantasize about being in Kiss when I was a kid, because it wasn't just about being able to do something so creative and reinvent yourself. That's the other thing. Rock stars, the ones I liked, they always created characters to interpret their music, and it was just as important what their songs looked like as to how it sounded and how they expressed themselves as they were performing it. Kids get it, even though they have a hard time explaining why it's so amazing and why they love it so much. So the dream gets born in a lot of us because it's the alternative to where we come from, if I couldn't be a rock star, growing up in LaPorte, the options I had were to become a logger. I mean, this is assuming I didn't go off to college, or teacher, salesman of some sort. And I've done a lot of normal people jobs too, and I've been terrible at all of them. Almost all the jobs I've ever had, I eventually get fired from. Not from anything scandalous, except basic incompetence. I'm always very popular. I was always very diligent about showing up and doing the bare minimum of what I had to do. I mean, I always did what they told me to do, but eventually, 2 or 3 years later, they'd get sick of seeing me every day and fire me. So for a lot of creative types, artists and musicians, we're really good at that one thing and really terrible at the other things, that normal people live like. And so, being an artist is also kind of like wanting to be a rock star. Being a cartoonist is a lot closer to being like a poet and a rhythm guitarist, I think. The creative skills are kind of the same. And it's less important how good of a drawer you are. If you draw all the time, young people, by the way, people who don't draw are stupid. But they always say stuff like, oh, you have such a gift. Or they want to give you compliments like, if you can draw well, you get a lot of respect from people, because most people can't draw, and they also know that they're terrible at drawing. And people are inhibited, and they don't get it, but they really respect people who can draw. The thing is, non-creative people, non-artist types, all of us, if you go to a kindergarten class, I've gone to kindergarten classes as an artist resident, and I'll go, how many kids here are artists? And they all raise their hands, everyone. How many people here like to draw? How many people here like to, By the time you get to 6th grade, I ask that same question, and there's like 2 or 3 kids left. Our culture and our education system does something that sucks the natural, creative, that part of our personalities. If you're still drawing by the 6th grade, you didn't get corrupted by art classes. Oh, here's the other thing I want to say. If you're a parent of a kid that wants to learn guitar, do not hire somebody else to teach them how to play guitar. It is child abuse. I used to be a guitar teacher at a music school in Bemidji, and I didn't realize this till just recently. If you give a kid a guitar and you try to learn the guitar with him, he will remember his goofy mom struggling to learn guitar with him, but teaching him as she was learning. You can have this wonderful memory and this bonding thing. And that kid may surpass you really quickly. Kids learn music way faster than adults. Learning the guitar is not something a teacher can teach. You can just give a kid a guitar and be encouraging and show them the stuff. Don't be so lazy that you can't get on YouTube and figure out how to hold the chords, or get a guitar for yourself or something. You can get involved with teaching your kid any musical instrument, even if you don't play it, because they have to teach themselves anyway. There is no guitarist who goes, yeah, my guitar teacher is responsible for me being such a guitar player. Every guitar player, especially rock guitar players, everyone doesn't read music. That's just not a thing for guitar players. We don't learn in music school. It's the one instrument they refuse to teach in schools. No, we'll teach you how to play the trombone. But, stupid instruments like trombone require reading music because you're playing in a marching band. If you're going to write music and jam with people and, you can't... you can't look up the sheet music to Stairway to Heaven and learn it that way. So please, I beg you, do not send your kids to a music teacher. Learn with them. I'm getting off track. This is advice for kids who want to become Rockstar cartoonists. So, you love cartoons? You love reading comic books? Sometimes people don't understand why we love superheroes so much. And people don't get it. Everyone loves the Avengers and, whatever, the movies. And they're fun, but people have forgotten about comic books. Before they got so great at making animated and real action superhero shows, and that's just a thing. It happened in animation before it happened on the big screen, but they started making really great Batman movies, and even the TV shows, Batman TV show and stuff, animated show, were so great at capturing the experience of reading Batman comic books that it made it sort of unnecessary to read comic books anymore. And that started happening in the early 90s, I think. But when I was growing up, I didn't read books. I read comic books. And I always drew superheroes. And there's a lot of kids out there, maybe some will watch this, who have drawings of Batman and Spider-Man in the margins of their notebooks. Or maybe they just do, you ever do just like stick man, running and jumping and doing different stuff? Those are all great exercises for becoming a cartoonist. If you want to be a cartoonist and you're kind of going, yeah, but they don't really make comic books anymore. But I just love superheroes and I love drawing and I want to draw my own comic books. You can, actually. And you can by the time you get good enough to do your own comic book. For me, it took 20 years probably of just drawing in sketchbooks, drawing comic strips, doing short projects, and then eventually learning how to add color to your drawings. Maybe in the future, if we ever get a live stream where I know there's a lot of kids, I'm hoping there'll be more kids watching the show. I'll give some drawing lessons on my process of doing comic books or just drawing comic strips. To do a cartoon like this, there's basically 3 stages. I draw a pencil drawing, I put ink over the pencil, I erase the pencil, then I add Prismacolor marker, and then I learned about publishing, putting together a book that has perforated pages. I learned all that being a traditional print shop press operator, bindery guy. You know, my whole life has been different education of different aspects of becoming a cartoonist. If you want to be, but it's not just about, for most of us who want to be cartoonists, it's not like, oh, I just want to illustrate a comic book. It's you want to become a person who has projects and creates cool stuff that you're proud of, but also it's a lifestyle where you get to hang out in a cool studio and have your stuff you're proud of doing, not have a job, not have a boss, not have to conform, you know. My advice to you is keep drawing whatever makes you happiest. That's going to probably guide your career anyway. If you love drawing anime, and you know, I'm too old to care about anime, but a lot of kids in this generation have been inspired by Japanese anime. And there's some great YouTube tutorials on how to do anime. One of the great things about anime is that a lot of those characters only have one eye, and they have like hair coming down off of that eye, you know. There are good cheat stuff that make it where you can draw stuff faster. But also have respect for the craft. People don't understand good from bad anymore, but kids do. All kids can tell. They respond to good art and don't respond to bad art. That's why kids could give a shit about Pablo Picasso, but they all love Spider-Man or Where the Wild Things Are. That's because like illustrations like Where the Wild Things Are technically good. One of the things you can tell the difference between a good artist and a bad artist is how well they draw hands. When you're not listening in class and you just want to doodle but you don't want to try very hard, start goofing around with hands. Figure out how to draw hands. You know, I might do a tutorial one day, but there's a lot of bad children book authors out there, illustrators, who get a pass because people don't notice. And I always notice. I look immediately at their hands. If you can't draw hands, you're a shitty artist. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank you very much for sharing some time with me on Rockstar Cartoonist. Let's see. Let me go out with, put this behind me. My name is Michael Lyons, Rockstar Cartoonist. I'd like to thank my guest, Ziggy Stardust. Oh, the pleasure is all mine. No, wait. No. Paul Stanley. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. And tune in tomorrow for more Rockstar Cartoonist. Oh, whoa, 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 woo! And I'd also like to thank Stephen A. Leon. Hello. Thank you for watching. And I will see you again. Giga Waba Min, Mina Wa. Okay, let me see this away. Yeah, cool. All right, I'll see you guys later.